8% of your life is spent dreaming. Lucid dreaming is the art of being able to control those dreams. It is a real thing with known techniques that you can follow to master this ability. Today we will discuss what it feels like to be in a lucid dream, the things you can do in a lucid dream, exactly how to start having lucid dreams using the most effective techniques, and almost everything else related to the world of lucid dreaming. I'll also share my personal experiences. I've been into lucid dreaming for over 10 years. In 2019, I created the largest lucid dreaming YouTube channel where I taught millions of people how to lucid dream. The videos are short and usually cover only one topic, so by listening to a long discussion about lucid dreaming, you will learn much more and are much more likely to achieve it. Every night when you go to sleep, you have dreams. Now, if you think you don't have dreams, it's just that you don't remember them, and that's a completely normal thing. Most people forget their dreams when they wake up. Dream recall is the ability to remember your dreams. It is a learnable skill and is usually one of the first things people do when they want to get into lucid dreaming. It is very important to have a good dream recall so you can remember your dreams when you wake up in the morning. After all, what's the point of lucid dreaming if you can't even remember your dreams? We will discuss dream recall techniques in a bit. But first, I want to be clear. Lucid dreaming is a real thing. It was scientifically proven in the 1970s by studying the eye movements of people who were in the dream state, or REM sleep, usually when most dreams are experienced. Lucid dreamers were able to communicate with the outside world and send eye signals to people monitoring them, which, if you think about it, is super cool. Like, usually when we go to sleep and we're dreaming, we're completely unconscious, we're not aware at all, and these people basically proved that it is possible to become conscious in a dream and communicate with people outside using eye signals. There's also other proof as well of lucid dreaming. I mean, the best proof is if you've experienced one yourself, which I think about 20% of the population does have random lucid dreams every month. Then you'll also know that it's real. Or if you talk to people, I'm sure a lot of people have lucid dreaming stories. But what does a lucid dream feel like? What does it feel like to be in a lucid dream? Maybe you've had one before, but I'll describe the experience very quickly just to refresh you. Now, the process of becoming lucid is very memorable. Usually it's the first thing you remember when you wake up from a lucid dream. And this process really depends on how you enter the lucid dream. Now, you can enter dreams directly, so there's no change in awareness. You just go straight from being awake into a dream, which we will discuss how to do a bit later. Or you could become lucid in the dream by, something in the dream causing you to just become aware. And this is usually the more common way that people become lucid. Random lucid dreams are usually done by this as well. Now, when you realize that everything around you is a dream, to be honest, it's very, very surreal. It's very weird because everything's so realistic. When you look around, it looks just like real life. I remember when I entered a lucid dream and I wanted to wake myself up right away. I wanted to wake up and tell myself in the real world that everything felt extremely real and that lucid dreaming was real. Because at that time, when I was first getting into it, I wasn't completely sure if it was a real thing or if lucid dreams, felt like real life. Maybe it sounds strange, maybe you felt that before, but I basically wanted to wake up and tell myself how awesome it was. Now, in a lucid dream, you can pretty much do anything you want. You can fly, you can teleport, you can spawn characters. Literally anybody you can think of, you can make them spawn in the dream, which you can have a lot of fun doing that. You can also speak to your subconscious, which is a really cool thing, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's talk about things you can't do in a lucid dream. Now, there are not a lot of things you can't do. Really, at the end of the day, your mind is the limit. So it depends how creative you are. I mean, if you can think about it, you can probably bring it into your dream. So really, the things you can't do in a lucid dream are things that are just impossible. For example, you can't walk to another room and hear a conversation that is happening in the real world, or, you can't get information that you didn't otherwise have. Unless it was deeply, deeply hidden in your brain, then maybe you're able to bring it out, but usually that's something you can't do. And dreams are also not multiplayer, so you can't connect with other people. Although some people have said that they have. It's never happened to me. And to be honest, if dreams were multiplayer, I think we would hear a lot more about that. And then, of course, there are things in lucid dreams that you can do, but you really shouldn't. So those are things that can cause you to wake up. And usually you just want to avoid those things because when you're in a lucid dream, the last thing you want to do is wake up and lose all of your progress. So some of those things include doing anything too exciting or looking in mirrors or maybe scaring yourself too much. Another thing is if you enter your room in the dream and you look at yourself sleeping, that can also wake you up. Now, these things aren't guaranteed to wake you up. At the end of the day, you're only going to wake up if you get too excited or if you freak out. And finally, you might be wondering how time works in a dream. If you've ever seen the movie Inception, there were dreams that people had that 1 second in the dream lasted like years in the real world. Now, that's definitely probably not something that'll happen. It's kind of hard to measure how you perceive time in a dream. But usually it's equal to real life, although it is possible to experience time slower or quicker. Anyways, let's jump into how to actually have a lucid dream. How can you start having lucid dreams? Now, first of all, if this is the first time you've ever heard of the topic, your chances of achieving a lucid dream are astronomically high. And that is because since it's a new topic, it is just going to stick in your mind a lot more. And the success rate of whether or not you lucid dream really does depend on what is in your mind before you fall asleep. So again, if this is a new topic and you get super excited about it and you watch a lot of videos about lucid dreaming, then there's a very good chance it'll just happen even if you're not experienced. When I made videos on the Explore Lucid Dreaming channel, I noticed this a lot. I got so many comments from people who told me that this was their very first time hearing about lucid dreaming. They watched a few videos and they succeeded right away. But let's get into some steps that you can take to increase the chances of having a lucid dream or to just really master this ability so you can kind of do it whenever you want. And the very first thing you need to do is build a dream recall. Now, we talked about dream recall a little bit earlier, and you might be wondering how to actually do it, how to increase that skill. And the good thing is, it's very easy to do, and the more you do it, the stronger and stronger you get. And the first way you can build a dream recall, and probably the best way, is to write down your dreams. So you can just put a book right next to your bed and write down your dreams when you wake up. You can use bullet points, full sentences. You can even draw pictures. All that matters is that you have something written down. And I know what you're thinking. Well, when I wake up, I don't remember a single dream. And the best way to get past that is the night before, you have to tell yourself that you will remember your dreams and just keep repeating that to yourself and have the journal right next to your bed so that when you fall asleep, it is on your mind the fact that you will remember your dreams. And surprisingly, that usually makes it very easy to remember your dreams when you wake up. And also, if you just spend a little bit of time when you wake up in the morning thinking about, what did I just dream? Then usually something will come to you and you'll be able to take that memory and kind of build upon it and remember the dream even more. So you need a little bit of momentum, but once you have it, then it's really not that difficult. And of course, it always helps to have a good sleep schedule. So you go to sleep every single night at the same time and wake up at the same time. Good sleep habits are always nice to have when you get into lucid dreaming, because then your sleep is just a lot more consistent and the techniques, when you use them, the results are a lot more predictable. Now, I know that it's kind of hard at times to get a good sleep schedule. I definitely do not have the best sleep schedule, but just try your best and you'll probably be okay. Now, you don't need a dream recall to use techniques from day one, but if you're serious about lucid dreaming and you really want to get into it, then it's definitely something you need to build. And it's not that hard to do, so there's really no reason why you shouldn't be writing down your dreams. Just put a little bit of effort into it. It's not that hard. And also, it's kind of cool to have a record of your dreams because you can look back at them and you might even notice themes or patterns. And who knows, maybe they could tell you something about yourself. I'm not going to go into the meanings of specific dreams in this episode, but if you were curious, then I'm sure you could just Google the common themes of your dreams and you would find out. Now, most of the lucid dreaming techniques are done, of course, at night because that's when you dream. So if you're listening to this and are very excited, depending on the time of day, you might need to wait a little bit before you get started. But there is something you can do right now, something you can start that will tremendously increase the chances of you having a lucid dream. In fact, it's probably the most important thing you can do, in my opinion, and that is reality checks. Now, reality checks are little tests that you do throughout the day to check whether or not you are dreaming. And if you do enough of these tests, then they will start to appear inside of the dream, causing you to have a lucid dream without even really doing anything at all. A good example of a reality check is going to a light switch and flicking the light on and off. Now, if you're in the real world, if you're not dreaming, the lights will turn on and then turn off. And that's because you are in the real world. So the laws of physics apply. But if you do that in a dream, if you go up to a light switch in a dream and you turn it on, anything could happen. Probably the lights won't turn on, or there'll be some weird color or something like that. And that'll basically tell you that you are 100% dreaming. And that'll snap you into consciousness. And of course, there are other tests you can do. For example, you can push your hand into the wall or into something solid. And if you're in the real world, your hand will stop. But if you're in a dream, it'll probably go right through. You can also count your fingers. And in the real world, you'll have 5. But in a dream, you'll have like 6 or 100. This is my favorite reality check. And I've had so many lucid dreams with it. Every single time that I look at my hand in a dream, it is always messed up. So it's a very, very reliable reality check. But anyways, you want to do reality checks throughout the day. Starting now, if you want to get into lucid dreaming, just do things, test your reality and see if things work properly. And if they don't work properly, tell yourself that you're dreaming. And who knows, maybe they'll start showing up in a dream. Now, it is possible, and this has happened to me before, where I've done a reality check in a dream and I saw the result and it was like I just completely went on with the dream, which is kind of funny. I mean, I remember like putting my hand against the wall and pushing it through, and I'm like, oh, my hand just went through the wall. Interesting. And then I just continued on with the dream. So it's not 100%. Of course, nothing in life is 100%. You have to remember that. But usually when you do a reality check in a dream, you become lucid. But anyways, let's imagine now that it's nighttime. How do you actually have a lucid dream? What do you do? Well, the good thing about the lucid dreaming community is that there are a lot of techniques. Each of them have their own acronym, and there's quite a lot. There's wake back to bed, mild, wild, viled, filed, lild, cat, dialed, siled. There's just like so many different lucid dreaming techniques. But if that confuses you, just remember this. There are really only 2 types of lucid dream. There is wild, which is wake-initiated lucid dream, and dialed, which is dream-initiated lucid dream. And these 2 types basically describe how you enter the lucid dream. Dialed is when something in the dream causes you to become aware that you're dreaming. So it could be a reality check, or it could be a certain technique, or maybe you're just super aware in the dream and you realize that it's all fake. And wild, or wake-initiated lucid dream, is when you can enter a lucid dream directly from the waking world. And in my opinion, these are some of the coolest techniques. But all of the acronyms that I read earlier are basically just techniques to induce one of the 2 types of lucid dream. So if you're a beginner to lucid dreaming, or you just want a straightforward technique, the one I always recommend is mild, or mnemonic induction of lucid dreams. We will discuss the other techniques in a little bit. A lot of them share similar building blocks, but mild is highly regarded as the first technique to try, and it's one of my favorites. It's so simple and it works very, very well. Now, mild is very simple, pretty straightforward. All you need to do for it to work is, as you're falling asleep, close your eyes, relax, and repeat something to yourself, like, I will enter a lucid dream tonight, or I will realize that I'm dreaming. Something like that, something very short, easy to remember. Just repeat it over and over and really put effort into thinking that phrase. And you also want to visualize yourself becoming lucid in the dream you're about to have. You want to picture yourself realizing everything around you is a dream. And if you do that enough, the thought will be so strong in your mind that when you fall asleep, it'll carry over and you'll either start thinking about the phrase in the dream or you'll visualize yourself becoming lucid, and that'll just cause a lucid dream right there. Now, when is the best time to use mild? Well, you can do it right before you fall asleep at the beginning of the night, but I would strongly recommend waking up in the middle of the night, like 5 or 6 a.m., because at that point you're much closer to a dream, and it's a lot easier to just directly enter a dream and have your thoughts carry over. Also, if you wake up super early, like 5 a.m., you might have some dreams that you can write down right before you try the technique. And that can also boost your dream recall and just boost the chances of this working. Now, before we discuss some other techniques, I want to explain something that is super important in the world of lucid dreaming, and that is, of course, dream control. So let's say that you use this technique and it works, and you're now in a lucid dream. Well, what a lot of people don't know is that it can actually be kind of difficult to control the dream. I mean, you might think that it's very easy to do. You just start running around and doing whatever you want. But oftentimes when people have their first lucid dream, they usually wake up right away or they don't really have much of an experience. And that is because being able to control the dream is really a skill that you need to develop. You see, when you're in a dream, everything that you think becomes reality. Every thought you have can appear right in front of you. So it's very important to have control over what you think, having control over your thoughts. And this is harder than you would imagine. I mean, if I say to you right now, don't think of a white elephant, then you're probably going to think of a white elephant. So if you're in a dream and you say to yourself, don't think about waking up, then you're probably going to wake up. There's a lot of ways that you can have greater control over your thoughts. A lot of it comes from experience, but things like meditation can also really help. If you're able to sit still and calm your mind and control your thoughts, that'll really help you when you become lucid in a dream so that you don't start overthinking or think about things that you don't want to happen. But regardless, when you become lucid in the dream, your first priority, goal number 1, is to stay in the dream and not wake up. And you can do that by grounding yourself. So don't start doing things right away. Look down, just feel the ground below you, look around, and take it all in before you even move. Once you feel like you understand your surroundings, then you can slowly engage with your environment. So then you can start walking around and touching things and feeling all the sensations. After you do that for a little bit and you're very secure in the dream, then you can start having fun. And there's a lot of ways that you can have fun inside of a lucid dream. Again, you can teleport, you can spawn people. Now, there are certain tricks to doing things in a lucid dream and just doing them better. For example, if you want to spawn someone, then first you want to think of that person, and then you want to imagine that they're behind you, and then when you turn around, they're probably there. Or if you want to teleport somewhere, then you can visualize that place, look down, and then look back up. And maybe you're in that environment. Or you could also walk through a door and pretend it's a portal, and on the other side, you'll be in that new place. Lucid dreaming is a lot like AI-generated Minecraft, where when you look around, things are always changing. It doesn't always make sense. But imagine playing AI-generated Minecraft with a microphone, and whatever you say into the microphone appears in front of you. That's pretty much it. Of course, the cool thing about a lucid dream, unlike a video game, is that all of your senses are engaged. You will feel everything around you. You can touch things, taste things, everything. You feel it all, and it's so cool. There's also really no pain in a dream or in a lucid dream. You can think that you feel pain and maybe scare yourself a little bit, but you don't really feel pain in the same way. So it's generally just a very safe environment. And there's not a lot of dangers, although we will talk about some dangers a bit later. Now let's discuss some other ways that you can get into a lucid dream, starting with WRILD. Now this stands for Writing-Induced Lucid Dreaming, and I really, really like this technique because it's just so simple. Right before you go to sleep, you just have a piece of paper and you write down maybe 50 times, "I will lucid dream tonight." Now, when you write things down, you're more likely to remember them. They stick in your mind more. So after you write it down, you just go to sleep and there's a good chance that you'll remember that and have a lucid dream. Another technique is called ADA, which stands for All Day Awareness, and this is really just the practice of observing things around you, questioning them more, and the idea is that this will carry over into a dream, and maybe it causes you to do a reality check. So I mentioned earlier that there are two types of lucid dream, dialed and wild. The previous techniques I just described were all dialed or dream-initiated lucid dreams, but the wild techniques or wake-initiated lucid dreams are some of my favorites because they allow you to go straight from being awake into a dream. You can literally directly enter a dream from the waking world. Now, for these to work, you need to wake up at a time when you'll be tired and when you're close to a dream. So usually this is around 4 to 5 hours after you go to bed. So if you go to sleep at midnight, then you want to be waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. to use one of these techniques. Otherwise, there's not going to be a dream for you to directly enter because you don't experience dreams when you fall asleep at the start of the night. And this has to do with REM cycles, which are periods of sleep where you experience dreams. I'm not going to get too deep into how REM cycles work, but just remember that if you wake up in the middle of the night or 4 to 5 hours after you fall asleep, then there's a good chance you'll wake up directly from a REM cycle or a dream, which means that it's very easy to enter back into that dream. Maybe you've experienced it before where you've had a dream and you've woken up and then you re-entered the same dream. And that happens because when you wake up, you are in between the real world and the dream world. And that is exactly where you want to be for these techniques. That is the perfect place to be. So once again, you want to wake up 4 to 5 hours after you fall asleep. So once you've woken up, here are some of the techniques that you can use to enter a lucid dream directly. The first one is the counting technique. This one's very straightforward. All you have to do is lie down, relax, close your eyes, and then start counting in your mind. You don't actually want to say the numbers out loud, but you just want to start counting. 1, I am dreaming. 2, I am dreaming. 3, I am dreaming. And you just want to keep going until either you fade into a dream and you become lucid, or maybe you fall asleep, but the thought was fresh in your mind, so you just become lucid that way. Another technique you can use is called filed, and this was my go-to technique to lucid dream. I really like filed. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but it really works well for me. And this one is also very easy to do. When you wake up in the middle of the night, you want to lie down and relax, and you want to move your index finger and your middle finger up and down, kind of like you're playing 2 keys on the piano. I don't know if you've ever played a piano before, but it's pretty simple. You just move your fingers up and down. So you want to do this for about 30 seconds. Don't actually count the seconds. You want to be focusing on your fingers, but do it for what feels like 30 seconds. And then after that, you want to stop moving your fingers, and then you want to tell yourself to pinch your nose and see if you can breathe through it. So what you're doing here is a reality check. You're testing to see if you are now in a dream. So if you pinch your nose and you can breathe through it, then that obviously means you're in a dream and you can start doing everything you want or grounding yourself and doing all of that. But if you can't breathe through your nose and you're still in the real world, you just repeat this over and over again until either you're in a dream or you fall asleep. But again, if you fall asleep, there's a good chance that you'll become lucid just because you woke up in the middle of the night and were thinking about lucid dreaming. Another great technique is called SSILD, or senses-induced lucid dreaming. Now, I've tried this technique before. It works very well, and it's very consistent, and it basically relies on something called cycles that you want to repeat over and over again. One cycle involves the following senses: sight, hearing, and touch. So to do this technique, you wake up 4 to 5 hours after you went to sleep, and you want to get out of bed and stay awake for 5 to 10 minutes. Now, you don't want to be too awake. You don't want to use your phone or open up Twitter and get in an argument or something. You just want to be walking around a little bit conscious. Then when you're ready, you want to lie down in bed, get comfortable, and close your eyes, and then you're going to start doing a few cycles. So at first, you want to focus on your sight. You want to focus on the blackness behind your eyelids because your eyes are closed, so you won't be able to see a lot. Focus on that for a few seconds, and then you want to shift your focus to hearing, on the sounds that you can hear. And you want to focus on that for a few seconds, and then you shift over to touch and what you feel, like the weight of your body against the bed. You want to think about that for a few seconds and then go back to sight. And that is one cycle, and you want to do that about 4 to 6 times. Now, once you've done that, you want to do slower cycles. So again, focus on sight, but this time spend like more than 30 seconds just focusing on sight, put an intense focus on it, and then shift over to hearing, and then shift over to touch. And you want to do about 3 to 4 of these cycles. Now, this is the most important part. Again, you want to put intense focus on each sense, one at a time. And if you do this properly, you might just transition directly from being awake into the dream world. But even if you don't enter a dream directly, when you fall asleep, you will have a much higher level of awareness, which will translate into a better chance of you becoming lucid. They call SSILD a hybrid technique, so it is both a mix of dialed and wild because you're able to use it and enter a lucid dream in 2 ways. You can either enter it directly from you doing the cycles, or you enter it from the dream you have right after, just because your awareness is higher. Now, it is also possible when you try this technique to wake up, but you're actually still dreaming. And that is called a false awakening. Now, maybe you've had this before, maybe you know what a false awakening is, but it is basically when you wake up and you think that you woke up, but you're actually still in the dream. So I've had it a lot where I got out of bed, I walked to the mirror, I looked at myself, and then I was like, oh, I look kind of strange. And then I woke up again and I was back in my bed. False awakenings are kind of funny in the lucid dreaming world because it's very common that you can try a technique and then it seems like you've woken up in the morning and the technique didn't work and you're like really disappointed. And then you wake up again and you realize the whole time you were in a lucid dream, which is why it's a good habit to do a reality check every time you wake up. So every time you get out of bed, just count your fingers or something and make sure that you're not still in a dream. Some of the techniques that I just mentioned can cause a lot of false awakenings, especially senses-induced lucid dreaming. And those false awakenings can be super realistic. So you can't just rely on what you see around you. If your room looks real, then you know that it's not a dream. You really do have to do a reality check or something like that. Otherwise, you might be in a dream and you won't even know it. But yeah, it's a good idea to make a habit out of performing a reality check every time you get out of bed, no matter how convinced you are about your reality. It's just a good thing to do. Now, as you may have noticed, there are a lot of ways to enter a lucid dream, and one reason for that is the field is very subjective. Some experts want lucid dreaming to be like an exact science, but a lot of ways to actually trigger a lucid dream, to get into a dream from being awake, are up to the person. And all of the experts could believe that one technique doesn't work and it could work for you. At the end of the day, lucid dreaming is not an exact science. So if you get into it and you hear strict rules from experts who've been doing it for decades, take it with a grain of salt, because it's entirely possible that all of the experts say that one technique doesn't work and it works for you. But now let's talk about the benefits and potential downsides of lucid dreaming. Let's start with the benefits. Now, a lot of benefits come from the techniques themselves. For example, reality checks or all-day awareness or meditation will make you better at controlling your thoughts, which is just a good skill to have in the real world. And besides from being a lot of fun, inside of lucid dreams, you can do a lot of useful things as well. You can practice skills like public speaking or sports. But another huge benefit of lucid dreaming, and maybe you realize this when you grow up more and mental health becomes more important. I'm not saying it's not important when you're young, but maybe you focus on it more as you're growing up. A huge benefit of lucid dreams is that you have direct access to your subconscious mind. What I mean by that is you can create characters in the dream that are your subconscious, and you can talk to them and you can ask them things like, what is my biggest fear? What am I most insecure about? Or what was something that happened to me in the past that is still affecting me today? And the character will talk back to you and give you answers. And this is such a cool thing. Now, there's a lot of people out there in the real world who will use things like psychedelics to also achieve the same state. But I feel like in a lucid dream, it's just a lot more realistic. It's also a lot safer because in a dream, you can't really hurt yourself. Your body is actually completely paralyzed. That is because there is a mechanism called sleep paralysis. Every single night it happens to you. When you go to sleep and you're dreaming, your body paralyzes itself to prevent you from acting out your dreams. When people sleepwalk, it's because sleep paralysis failed to kick in. So it's actually a protective thing. I mean, I've sleptwalked before, and sometimes I woke up and I just ended up in random places, like I ended up on a bus in a completely different country. We'll talk more about sleep paralysis in a bit, but first, let's get to the downsides of lucid dreaming. And perhaps the biggest downside is that if you die in a dream, you will die in real life. I'm just kidding about that. In terms of being in a lucid dream, there's not really a lot that can hurt you. And contrary to popular belief, you can't get stuck in a dream. Maybe if you have a really dark mind, let's say you have nightmares every single night, then practicing lucid dreaming would just give you lucid nightmares, which are basically just nightmares, but you're aware in the dream. But again, even this is not a bad thing because since you're conscious, you are able to conquer your nightmares and change them into regular dreams. There are a lot of ways to change lucid nightmares into normal dreams. A lot of it is just believing that you can. For example, if you see a dragon in front of you and it's chasing you and really scaring you and causing a nightmare, but you realize that you're dreaming, you can just spawn a sword and throw it at the dragon and kill it. And all of a sudden, you're in an incredible lucid dream and you can do things like spawn, I don't know, Taylor Swift or something. Actually, maybe that'd make the nightmare a bit worse. But yeah, changing lucid nightmares into regular dreams can actually be very therapeutic for some people. And maybe it'll help you even deal with some trauma. So I guess that's not really a downside, it's more like a benefit. But now let's talk about the physical downsides to lucid dreaming. Of course, you might be wondering, does lucid dreaming cause sleep deprivation? Does it make your sleep quality worse? Now, there are mixed reactions about this. The only way to really know for sure is if you lucid dream and wake up not feeling properly rested. Of course, it might not be the lucid dream causing this. It could be a technique that you used that made you wake up at 5 a.m. and maybe you couldn't go to sleep right away. So maybe it's not the lucid dream. So if that happens, then just be smart about it. Don't use one of those techniques every single night. And again, if you practice reality checks and stuff like that, then you won't even need to wake up in the middle of the night to experience lucid dreams. But I would definitely say that the downsides of lucid dreaming definitely do not equal the benefits. If you can frequently lucid dream, I would say your life is 100% better. But if lucid dreaming has all of these benefits, then why isn't it more popular? And really the main reason is it's just so hard to do. I mean, it's possible that you hear about lucid dreaming and you're able to have one on the first night, but if you really want to master it and have complete control and guarantee a lucid dream every single night, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work, and you constantly have to think about lucid dreaming for you to be able to do it consistently. And a lot of people just don't want to do that. You know, if you do another skill like riding a bike, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you just get on the bike and start pedaling and you can just kind of improve, right? And maybe you really like it and it's not that hard to do. But lucid dreaming, you could be really into lucid dreaming, but not experience a lucid dream until a few weeks after you started. And now let's finally talk about sleep paralysis. Now, this is a pretty popular phenomenon outside of the lucid dreaming community. And usually sleep paralysis is seen as this very scary thing. And again, your body experiences sleep paralysis every single night when you have dreams. But really the problem is if you are not dreaming and you're actually awake and you're lying in bed paralyzed, that does happen to some people. But in the lucid dreaming space, that is actually a good thing because from that state, it's really easy to enter a lucid dream. You're already halfway between the real world and a dream. If you're in sleep paralysis, there are many techniques you can use. For example, you can just close your eyes and visualize a lucid dream, or you could do one of the techniques like senses-induced lucid dreaming. It's actually pretty easy to escape sleep paralysis and go into a lucid dream. But if you don't want to enter a lucid dream, if you just want to snap out of it and maybe, enter the real world for a little bit, then there are some things you can do, like you can breathe irregularly, and that'll actually wake you up. Just a little life hack if you ever get caught in sleep paralysis. Now, another thing that a lot of people ask me about are supplements. Are there pills that you can take to cause you to lucid dream? Now, I have tried lucid dreaming pills before, a long time ago, a few years ago, and these pills usually contain substances that'll increase your awareness. But from personal experience, I would say that they don't 100% work. And even if you have a lucid dream after taking a supplement, it's hard to tell if that supplement was what caused the lucid dream or the technique. So again, there's no 100% lucid dreaming magic pill. If there was, I would buy all of them and take them every single night. So if you have extra money, maybe it's worth it, but you definitely don't need to take anything special to lucid dream. And in the long term, the best way to have consistent lucid dreams is to just get really good at the techniques, really good at reality checks, and all of these things that I discussed in this episode. And if you do all of that, you'll be well on your way to achieving consistent lucid dreams. But anyways, that's basically everything you need to know about lucid dreaming. I think it's a fascinating field. I'm very passionate about the field. And again, I've been involved in it for so long. I started the Explore Lucid Dreaming channel, which is the biggest YouTube channel about lucid dreaming. And that channel actually has condensed versions of every single technique that I discussed and a lot more techniques. So if you're still interested, I recommend checking out that channel. But that's about it. Thanks for listening to this episode about lucid dreaming. If you liked it, please subscribe and leave a like, and I will see you next time.